The views and opinions expressed on Smack My Pitch Up are those of the panelists and not those of GUI Network, their sponsors, or any of the properties mentioned. Listener discretion is advised. This podcast is rated R for violence, language, and nudity. Well, it's a podcast, so you won't see the nudity. I just do it to make the guest uncomfortable.
In a world gone mad with unnecessary reboots, remakes, and sequels, only one podcast has the guts to make it even worse. This is Smack My Pitch Up.
Hello, geeks, and welcome to another amazing episode of Smack My Pitch Up, the podcast that reboots, remakes, reimagines, sequels, cycles, and adapts some of your favorite and least favorite properties from film, television, books, comics, and even my imagination. Welcome to a very cult classic episode. This is a film that some people may or may not be familiar with, and I very thoroughly suggest if you are not familiar with it to give yourself the gift of finding this on, from what I understand, you can find it on some sort of tube site where you can get free videos that get submitted.
Completely free, posted by, I'm pretty sure, the actual studio that made it.
Very possibly.
And just like, go ahead, watch it, whatever.
Or if not, somebody that posted it in the studio is like, meh, because this is from 96, I want to say, when this came
98.
out. 98, okay.
Yeah.
So it's been long enough. And it's one of those movies that they're like, we're not making a lot of money on this anyway. It's fine. So we were talking about Six String Samurai, a post-apocalyptic rockabilly romp from 1998 that you may or may not have enjoyed in the past. And we're going to look at the film and decide how best to reboot, remake, or reimagine this bad boy. And here with me to help me on that journey through the deserts of terrible remakes, we've got my dungeon master, my friend Jack is here.
How you doing? Yeah, this is great because this movie was set in the desert outside of Las Vegas, so it is near and dear to my heart.
Correct, as someone having grown up out there. Correct.
Yep. The cult of Vegas, the cult of Elvis is alive and well.
Very much so. And what is funny is that since this movie's release, there is actually a rockabilly festival called Viva Las Vegas that happens every year in Las Vegas that is very much just this movie with maybe less apocalypse involved. I
mean, if that doesn't do it for you, you just go down the road to Wasteland.
Wasteland Weekend, yeah.
Wasteland Weekend. So get your rockabilly in and then go Wasteland Weekend. You don't even have to change clothes.
Exactly. I mean, you just have the same outfit as your Six String Samurai cosplay and you're good to go.
Yeah.
So for those unfamiliar with Six String Samurai, and don't feel like actually checking out before finishing the remainder of this this episode, it is basically Buddy is the main character, and it's very much kind of a Buddy Holly. Yep. I don't know if they're suggesting it is in fact Buddy Holly or if it's
that's kind of the weirdness of it, because he does encounter Richie Valens in his journey, and he fights him, and it's implied that they don't know each other directly, and that there's this age gap between them when there wasn't between the real Richie Valens and Buddy Holly.
Sure.
So, like, it's questionable on whether or not he is Buddy Holly, but honestly, the plot of this movie sounds like a mashup from a different episode.
Sure.
It's like rockabilly, samurai, post-apocalyptic, lone wolf and cub.
Yeah, that's the best way to actually describe this. And it is set sometime in the 1960s, from what we can understand, in an alternate history where nuclear war occurs and there's like an apocalyptic event that makes a wasteland occur. One of the last bastions of civilization is Las Vegas, which has been run by Elvis Presley as the king, the actual king, not just musical king. Of Las Vegas, and has his minions worshiping at his feet. And at the advent of his death in the 1960s, there is a call to all six stringers, all rock and rollers to come to Vegas to claim the throne that has been left by Elvis. And Buddy is one of many that is making their pilgrimage to the Mecca that is Vegas for the rock and roll kingship. And along the way runs across rival gangs of marauders and other rock and rollers that are a hurdle in his path towards his kinghood, and also finds himself with the Kid is the name of the character, which is just a child that he rescues from marauders that kill his mother and leaves him alone. And the Kid just follows Buddy until he begrudgingly just allows him to tag along.
Yep.
And that's the basis of the entire movie. I mean, that's pretty much the plot of it.
Yeah, that's it. It's pretty straightforward, bare bones kind of plot, which kind of fits for what you need it to be. A samurai movie doesn't need much in the way of like long, complicated like plot. It just needs more. So it needs. I think of it more in the Kurosawa sense that it needs a setting, it needs good cinematography, and it needs good physical acting. And past that, just run wild with it.
Yep. And I agree that there is a power to the statements that Buddy makes during the movie because of how little his character actually talks during the film. And
right.
There's amazing one-liners, but there's also just like, there's weight to his statements.
Yeah.
When he talks, because he's not one to mince words, really. He says what he means and he keeps it to a minimum, and that's it. And not only does he come off as a badass for doing that, but also, there's more gravity to it. And I love the idiocy of some of these characters that he fights. There's like barbarian marauders that are there. There's the pinheads that are just like
it's just a bowling team.
Could you imagine it's the post-apocalypse and you're just like, you know what? We do need like a highwayman gang to like rob travelers, but make sure let's wear our panel shirts. Let's turn bowling pins into knife bowling pins because we got to stay thematic. There's just a bunch of like the really pushy kid in drama class that now is just in charge of a gang. That's like, no, we've got to have matching outfits. We've got to have matching and thematic weaponry to go with our outfits.
Ultimately, it's a musical without musical numbers.
Oh, La La Land.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Well, I was also thinking West Side Story. Yep. Sharks and the Jets.
Jets, yeah.
So it's like it's important that we be thematic with our gang because you never know when we have to bust out into song. None of us know how to sing or dance. That's not the point.
Yeah, and also this is something that has ruined me for the apocalypse with movies. They talk about movies ruining people for their morality or doing drugs or just being evil or worshiping Satan, all that. Nah, I'm good on all those counts. It's that I have an expectation when the apocalypse happens that I'm going to get to have some fashion choices involved in my roving gang, a post-apocalyptic gang. And I'm going to be busy like gluing spikes to like football pads and getting ready. And there's going to be people just wearing blue jeans and a t-shirt that are going to slice my head off or more realistically just fill me with bullets. And I'm going to show up with like the black eyeliner and the pads with the spikes and the hockey stick with a knife attached to the end and just ready to go. And they're just going to be like, bang. And 2 days of work out the window.
But you know what? For years, those marauders are going to be telling people the story of, there's this guy with a hockey stick.
Right.
And I just don't know what he was thinking.
If we can't do it in the pre-apocalypse in the world, but maybe in the post-apocalypse, we can all just agree that, sure, I mean, world's falling apart, rival gangs killing each other, all that stuff, but let's like take 2 seconds to make it a little more fun and work
aesthetic
on our costumes.
Or die, man.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's important. And that's what this movie's really pushing is aesthetic or die with this one.
I think it's more of a product of genre than it is of the era in which it was made, because by, like 1998, you weren't seeing a lot of this weird sort of mashup concept wise, but like you can see the through line of where they got their influences from, like Rock and Rule or Streets of Fire, this sort of like, rock and roll is the only thing that's going to survive the end of the world.
Sure.
And it's important that we preserve that in some way, but like also in this sort of like Western reappropriation of the cowboy, but like reinterpreted back again from the samurai movie genre, which was like it's this weird circular like feeding frenzy about like genres and shit.
Well, the way I've always looked at the samurai and the Western genres is almost like when you're cooking and you're tempering eggs, where you slowly add a hot liquid to the eggs so that it doesn't curdle into actual eggs. It just stays like the liquid form. You're just it's like adding a fish to a fish tank, where you're slowly incorporating it into another temperature so it doesn't die. Yeah. That's been back and forth between Westerns and samurai films for the advent of both genres, I want to say.
Exactly.
That they've been
feeding on each other.
Where they're inspire one, and the thing that was inspired inspires another thing in the genre that it was inspired from, and back and forth.
And I think it's even more evident with the fact that they decided to do, it's like, hey, we want to do like the Russian army is going to show up at one point, and it's going to be very clearly not the Russian army that everyone thinks it should be. It's like the apocalypse happened in the 1950s, so it's an alternate history instead of like some distant future where everything went wrong. Because the Cold War has been over for like a decade at that point in the real world.
And also, I was looking at this, and so much, even though I ended up going a different direction with that army, I was like, how can I not cast Gogol Bordello as the Russian like army? Because they have like 32 members anyway, so it might as well just.
I mean, it took me a bit because, like, you know, which rockabilly band needs to be in this movie?
Well, and that's actually where I was looking at as far as, do I want this to be a rockabilly love letter like the original was, or did I want it to be? It's got to be musical for sure. There's no way.
No, there's no way to do this without music being a major influence.
Absolutely, but did I want it to be one specific genre? Did I want it to be multiples? Did I want it to be specifically rockabilly as a nod to the original? And I think there is a nice kind of in-between that I landed into that works for my my real version of this. So for those unfamiliar how we do this, we both have two versions of this film that we're going to approach. One is our best guess as to how to do this as far as casting and plot for a remake, reimagining. And the other one is the remix, where we just go outside the box and say fuck it and just throw spaghetti at a wall and see what sticks as far as ideas. And they're usually pretty ridiculous, and sometimes so ridiculous that it might just work.
Yeah.
Those are my favorite.
I mean, that was kind of how this movie got made, right?
This is that's what's hard about a remix version of this, is because the plot itself is so batshit insane that how do you make it weirder? It's just
like I want to see the pitch meeting where somebody tried to sell this movie.
Yeah.
I really do.
And that was a thought that I had when trying to figure out the outside the box remix version, and I'll get into that when we get to that part of the episode. But for your real take on this, let's set it up. Are we doing a 1960s period piece? Are we doing modern day? Are we doing a rockabilly? What are we doing here?
So with my serious take, I'm looking more at this being a sequel. Okay. So it takes place after the first movie. Of course, you're going to be fuzzy about exactly when. And so it's still going to have like the musical influence into it, but it's going to be more like the music that evolves after that period of rock and roll of like Buddy Holly and Ritchie Valens. And it's going to be more about like doo-wop and pop music coming into their form during the late 60s, early 70s. So that's kind of the area I'm playing with when it comes to like musical theme for the sequel. And to give you an idea of how weird I'm going to make this as far as like a director goes, I wanted to use RZA.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. For sure.
Who's anyone who's not familiar with this? Why are you on this podcast? He is one of the founding members of the Wu-Tang Clan. He's also the director of The Man with the Iron Fists. He has been in charge of like soundtracks for multiple films, and I think he's got a very deep appreciation for film, you know, considering where he gets most of his inspiration from. And he's done samurai movie soundtracks with Afro Samurai, Ghost Dog. So I figure, Six String Samurai would be right up his alley to do another.
I think that's a great idea. And I think it's important to have somebody that is very musically inclined to be the director because of how musically focused it is. I mean, you need somebody that has their foot in kind of both worlds a little bit in order to pull this off.
I mean, you can't do a worse job than the original director.
No shit, right? Yeah, this isn't a classic because of just how properly choreographed and beautiful the film is.
I mean, from the same artistic vision that brought you The Crow, Wicked Prayer, comes Six String Samurai.
Yay! That's something to leave off your resume. There seems to be a gap in your timeline here as far as your jobs. It's vacation. Don't look it up.
I was stressed out.
Put the IMDb happened. Down. Do not look up that era of my career. Was that the Edward Furlong one?
Yeah.
Oh no, wow. I don't know if I ever finished that one. That was garbage.
I don't think Edward Furlong finished that one.
Right. He finished the lines in his trailer and said, "Okay, fuck this, I'm out." So for mine, I definitely wanted to approach it with the same idea as somebody that's very musical as a director, but I wanted to have the conversation about the six-string aspect of it being the real important part. It's not just a performer, somebody that can, sing or perform on stage, but somebody that is really a talented guitarist. That is the main focus of the push for who the kinghood of Vegas is going to be. And I put it it is a period piece sort of, but the post-apocalyptic era of 2016.
Okay.
And it's after the passing of not Elvis, because I felt that's been done to death a little bit, the Elvis storyline stuff, but a more modern legend of music, the death of Prince, being the beginnings of.
So we hit similar points.
Okay.
All right. Okay. I'll get to it.
Okay. Okay. So that's going to be my focus on everybody kind of rolling in and doing the thing. So there's nobody playing Prince. It's just like Elvis in the original. That it's just like the death of the king. And for the director, I wanted somebody that has really played in the ridiculous comedy, action, adventure, rock and roll vibe to an extent, and would be able to have fun in that space and really just get super weird with it and have a lot of fun with it and have it very musical. So I went with the director of the Fistfull and Ollie Show and Tenacious D and the Pick of Destiny. Liam Lynch will be directing.
All right. That's a good pick. That's a good pick.
I think it would be very fun for him. And he's super indie anyway, so he would have no problem. He would not waste time and effects on making it look like a super adventure action movie. Right. He would pay proper homage to it being just a goofy, low budget, rock and roll movie. And
absolutely.
Yeah. You'd see the strings,
right.
Because why not?
Yeah.
That's part of the charm.
Absolutely. So with mine being a sequel, I'm not using the same plot. And as I alluded to earlier, like the original Six String Samurai is pretty much a lone wolf and cub story. Like you've got your Ronin, you've got the kid that's tagging along, and he's fighting off a bunch of people and protecting the kid, and ultimately, he dies and the kid gets to live. Spoilers.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, I decided to do a different popular samurai movie reinterpreted through this, post-apocalyptic musical lens, right? So the plot of it is going to be this sort of like lone warrior type who doesn't really have a name coming into a town where there's these two warring factions, and and the people of the town are kind of suffering under the two warring factions, and he agrees that he's going to help out the people of the town, and he starts playing the two factions against each other, and ultimately he wins and he walks off into the sunset, all the richer because he's pretty much robbed everybody in the town. If you don't know what that movie is, it's called Yojimbo. It's a Kurosawa classic.
Yep.
And I want to redo that, but the lone wanderer who has no name comes into town, and he picks up a pseudonym, and the town is going to be Las Vegas, and it's after the first movie, and the two warring clans are trying to take over and take who's in charge. And by the end of it, he's stolen everything from them, and he's decked himself out in a brand new purple suit. And he gets declared the Prince of Las Vegas.
Yes. Amazing.
Yes.
When you're thinking about like a modern musician of the modern era that is somebody that can compete at the level of Elvis as far as like legendary status, there are very few musicians that really come to mind, but Prince is one of them.
Yeah.
Not only by name. I mean, by name, it was kind of perfect but also, I mean,
yeah, that's what I went for. It's like, oh no, this joke is too good. I have to do the entire plot around this now.
oh yeah, absolutely. And I mean, that is one musician that doesn't really matter what genres of music you're into. Most everybody
He's got
has
something for you.
Yeah, everybody's got an appreciation for Prince. So
Yeah.
I do appreciate that. For me, because it is such a musically focused story, I definitely wanted to incorporate more actual musicians into the plot of it. So there's these roving gangs, very Warriors-esque in their approach to there being the pinheads and the like barbarian marauders and the windmill people and the army and there's all these different roving groups. So why not make them either a band or the leader of those gangs being another six-string samurai, another well-known musician that is playing the role. So I've got either like a guitarist or a guitar singer for bands being the leader, or an entire band being the gang in my casting as well. So
that fits. Mine is more about send-ups to specific artists.
No, fair enough.
I don't think I'm going to have anybody in this version actually go all out and do like a musical number, but it is important for me that the audience very much knows which historical pop music figure this is on screen at the time, Oh,
fair enough. So let's just get into your casting.
Yeah.
Let's get in there.
Okay. So like I said, this one, it being a sequel, I'm not going to have the same characters showing up because it's supposed to be, X number of years after the first one. But our main character, who's sort of filling the buddy role, is going to be, our Yojimbo, who's going to eventually become Prince. So I decided to go with Andre 3000 to play him. People may know, are definitely going to know him from Outcast. He's actually a very good actor. He was in Be Cool, Four Brothers, a few other movies.
Oh, he was in a movie with his musical partner in
Idlewild.
Idlewild, that's what it was. Yeah. That was a weird one for sure.
It is a weird movie, but it's one of those like it's supposed to go hand in hand with a concept album.
Sure.
And if you're not really absorbing that album, the movie is not going to really work for you.
No, fair enough.
It was adventurous. I'm not going to call it great, but it was a lot more daring than a lot of other projects that similar groups have gone up to.
Sure, so, that's fair.
So yeah, Andre 3000. Obviously he's a musical talent, but he's got acting chops as well, and I'd like to see him, do some fake samurai shit too.
Right.
Yeah. Moving down, we've got like his sort of sidekick, and this isn't going to be a kid because again, Yojimbo. So it's going to be like the local bar owner who's kind of like representative of the townsfolk that are like suffering under this gang war. It's Gonji in the original Yojimbo film, but in this, it's going to be James Brown.
Yes.
As played by Tracy Morgan.
Oh no.
Yes.
Who is Tracy Morgan is doing a biopic. I think it's like Disney.
Louis Armstrong.
Or is it Louis Armstrong? Okay. Yeah. That he's financing himself. Yeah. And I saw a side-by-side shot of the two of them, and actually it's really close.
Yeah, no, he's very serious about it, and you know what? I think he's actually gonna pull it off very well.
I think it's gonna be so much a life imitating art moment of when his character in 30 Rock was trying to get the EGOT, and he wasn't being taken seriously for an Oscar when he was trying to go for that. I think that's what's gonna happen with him, where he's gonna do this movie and people are gonna go, "Oh, you're actually an actor."
Yeah, no, like
you can actually.
Tracy Morgan is I think he's unfortunately been typecast because everyone just sees him as the same character every time. But I think he's got a lot more range. Obviously, this is kind of going to be a gaggy sort of role because it's six-string samurai. It's not a serious movie.
Sure, yeah.
But I think him as like the downtrodden James Brown talking about these youngins and they just don't know what they're doing to the people of this town. I think that would be an interesting watch.
Now, the Yojimbo, that was one of the Eastwood movies that was basically the Western remake, right? Was it?
The man with no name character is Yojimbo.
Yeah, that was the trilogy.
Sierra Leone ripped it off and actually had to pay dividends to Kurosawa for what was that? Fistful of dollars.
Yep, that's the one.
Because it was such a blatant ripoff of Yojimbo, and he didn't ask for permission to remake the movie.
Oh, jeez.
Like it's almost shot for shot. Is just glaring.
strangely enough, that also has Anne Heche's Butthole in it as far as a shot-for-shot remake.
All right.
I'm glad you got that. You and one other listener is going to get that
like
joke.
Three other people are going to get that. So then you got to talk about like who are going to be the two warring clans that he's going to go up against. And it pretty much came down to, it's like, what kind of like groups are going to be ruling Las Vegas where Prince has to take them both out. And I settled on them being led by David Bowie and Little Richard.
Oh, wow. Okay.
David Bowie being played by Cillian Murphy.
I like that a lot.
Yeah. And Little Richard being played by Leon. One of those one-name actors. He's actually already played Little Richard in a bio movie of him, but he was also in The Temptations as one of the lead talents there. He's currently in City on a Hill as a pretty prominent character. Look him up. He's a great actor, and he's done musical biopics before in this kind of vein. So
nice. Okay.
I think he'd be great for it.
Sweet.
And that's pretty much the only cast that I came up with because, again, it's not parallel to the original plot. So the major characters that I needed were like the lead townsfolk, the two warring clans, and our protagonist. So
and that was what's different with this one than a lot of other pitches that we've done on the show, is that oftentimes we talk about, the acting chops of the person to play the roles and stuff, but this is so campy. I was less concerned about that so much as what would be a fun choice to put here. They had nothing to do with acting talent or how much they've done, as far as movie roles before. And I just went whole hog, fun time, figure out what would be the best fit for these characters as far as musicians and bands and stuff. So I didn't even think about past stuff they've done. I just went full on musician choices for this. Right. And I think it's going to be super fun with Buddy being the new rocker that's coming to take the throne from Prince, who has passed. And I wanted it. These aren't the actual characters, the musicians that are playing them. It's not them playing themselves. But they are kind of representative of that role in the music industry in some way, shape, or form. So for Buddy, I went with Jack White as as far as somebody that to be like a student of rock and roll and guitar, he's definitely up there. Then as far as the kid goes, I don't know if you're familiar with the videos that Dave Grohl had with the little British girl that played drums, and they had like a drum off on the internet during COVID.
Yeah.
Where they kept going back and forth and like trying to outdo one another. And this girl is like insanely gifted on basically all instruments, but especially drums, but can play guitar, keyboards, just went whole hog against Dave Grohl and really held her own. It was really impressive. Her name is Nandi Bushell. And as far as a kid in a rock and roll movie, and especially with the relationship that Liam Lynch has with the Foo Fighters, I thought it would be such a nice little like gift to the fans of the Foo Fighters, and also to this little girl to have her as the kid that's following around Jack White, who I'm sure she's also a fan of, because come on. And then the Red Elvises, I'm using them in the classic literary sense of the narrator of the film that comes in every so often and kind of informs the scene changes, what's happening after a battle, the chorus that happens. Yeah. I'm using the Red Elvises role in the film more that way, where it's not just showing up right at the beginning and then the instrumental music of the band throughout. It's going to be these little, as you see Buddy walking off into the distance, it pans over, and on a sand dune is this band like singing about this like beating this roving gang.
There's a couple of movies that pull that off just beautifully. I think Birdman does it great when it just pans over and then there's just this random drummer going at it like on the street, and then it pans back and it's you're back in the movie again. I love that. Yeah, absolutely.
Oftentimes, I mean, it's classically used in a lot of Shakespeare stuff. It was even played at with Thor Ragnarok when they were doing the reenactment of Loki's death. And then there was there was Sam Neill as Odin, like informing the crowd of the different things that were happening. So it's pretty commonplace, and I thought it would be so fun in this to, of course, in a Liam Lynch movie, to get Tenacious D to be that band that's just singing about the battle that just happened, and just going full Tenacious D in those scenes, just little
Yep.
blips would be fucking.
Not to mention you're going to have that beautiful moment where Jack White and Jack Black are on the same screen together.
Well, I kind of want it to be where at the end, after death is conquered by Buddy,
Mm-hmm.
there's a moment where Jack Black and Jack White are facing off at the end, where like Jack Black's been following this journey the whole way, and then he stands in the way, and they just stand off, and you hear like the, like
Yep.
noise and tumbleweeds, like they're about to face off, and Jack Black just does a very theatrical like bow to Jack White as he just moves forward and limps away. Okay, so Jack White, Andy Bichelle, Red Elvis's will be Tenacious D instead. Death, who is the heavy metal in this, that's supposed
who was the most obvious Slash I have ever seen on screen.
And I was thinking a Slash to start, but I went, let's just too nail on the head. And I thought it would be more fun to have somebody that is also known as a guitar god, but isn't just so. That's such a. It's such a on the nose choice to choose Slash in that regard. So I just went with Kirk Hammett instead, the guitarist from Metallica.
Yeah.
And of course, those interactions you've got with Buddy or Jack White, they're gonna have like guitar solo offs and stuff, and just have fun with it. So that would be interesting to see Kirk Hammett versus Jack White, because their playing styles are so wildly different.
Right.
Then for the Windmill People, I wanted a band that has lots of members and is also that's very like it's supposed to be hell or something that the kid falls into. I'm just going with like psychoactive drugs that are a part of that thing. So a little hippy dippy. And I thought the Flaming Lips would be a very fun choice for the underground hippy dippy Windmill People.
Yeah, that'd work.
And I could see them all wearing like hazmat space suits just for fun. Like
I'm pretty sure that's how they chill out in their trailers between sets.
They don't have trailers; they have yurts. Let's be serious.
There you go.
Yeah. Then the Army, I want it to be a bunch of bands that are not related to the other bands, like that nobody likes but wants to take over. So I'm going with boy bands as being the Army. So we've got, and just for proper representation, we've got the biggest boy band on earth, from what I understand, is BTS is there. But to make sure that it's not like America, Korea kind of conflict thing, we've got One Direction also representing the UK. Course. And then the Jonas Brothers coming back to properly represent the United States in boy bandom. So it's just a global boy band attempted takeover of the United States.
Perfect.
And so lots of harmonies happening during that battle, for sure. And then finally the Barbarians at the very beginning that are chasing down Buddy. Why wouldn't that be the Foo Fighters? I think they'd have a lot of fun waving clubs with the long hair.
Yeah, and they orphan the little kid. Yeah, no, that's perfect.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I think you don't have to get too deep into these choices really for this movie.
No, it's about like style more than substance.
Absolutely.
And I think that was what they were going for with the original movie. As much as I love it, it was a dismal failure commercially. It was like $2 million budget, which is dirt cheap even in 1998, but it only made like 150,000.
Oh no.
Globally. Yeah, that was a huge loss. They're never going to make a sequel to this thing.
Although I feel like they probably made that back since then as the cult status of this movie, but this is even by cult status, it's not the same level as like, Carpenter's
Find me a DVD of it. Find me a DVD of it. I will buy it, but it's not available. Like, that's why I had to go to the tubes to even rewatch it.
Man, because you got to contact like Alamo or Vinegar Syndrome or Anchor Bay or somebody to put this out.
Like this thing was so much of a dismal failure that you have never heard of the lead actor ever again, and he actually had a career before this.
Oh no! Oh man!
Jeffrey Falcon, the guy who played the original Buddy in Six String Samurai, has not had a credit since. But he worked for like a decade in the Chinese film industry as the one white guy who knew kung fu.
Yeah,
and he hasn't been anywhere since. And with a name, I can't find him.
Like Jeffrey Falcon. You know that there was just somebody being like, we have a cop that doesn't play by the rules role that with a name like Jesse Falcon, you need to play this role.
Yeah, but like he just doesn't exist anywhere. I have not like I think I found a news article from like 2005 saying that he moved to China because his wife is a Chinese national and just hasn't been seen since.
Kung Fury 2 needs to bring him back.
Seriously.
If there's a movie in production that would fit for him and what he knows to do, and as far as like a love letter to cult film aficionados, yeah, let's get some Falcon in there.
Absolutely. I mean, apparently he's also a huge dick, so that probably doesn't.
Oh, that probably doesn't help either.
Yeah.
So that is our real takes on Six String Samurai.
Right.
Now we're getting into the fun and weird world of the remixes.
Yeah.
of this movie, which
let's get weirder versions of Six String Samurai.
This was so much more difficult than normal because of how weird this movie is. But what direction are you taking it with your remix? Are you doing it?
So I decided to do an actual remake with my remix. Like an actual remake. Like take the bears of the plot and like try and tighten it up or try and make it a little more, mainstream even. But I decided the direction to go with like this weird mishmash of different genres was to go with anime.
Oh, so, no.
Yes.
Although, actually, my initial reaction was, oh no, but yeah. I mean, you could flesh this out so much more.
Think about it like this. It's like an anime starring a lone wolf type character who's going around adventuring with a weird music soundtrack, and he ultimately dies in the end in a glorious battle against overwhelming odds. Hey, that's Cowboy Bebop.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. So, like, it's like there's plenty of anime that already does this weird combination of genres, like, oh, cowboys in space or cowboys and samurai in the post-apocalypse. Like, cool. Just toss it all in there. So, as far as like a direction, like I wanted to get like theming wise with like the director, I went with Takashi Okazaki, who he's the main art director for Afro Samurai, Batman Ninja, a few video games.
Okay.
Which are also, the RZA helped with Afro Samurai, obviously, but like it was also another one of those like projects that's like, let's take these two disparate like genres and just mash them together. In that case, it was sci-fi and samurai stuff.
Which I meant to say during your original casting is I'm surprised at how few members of the Wu-Tang Clan were in your version, considering that RZA was involved.
Well, yeah, I'm sure he would insert like as many of his friends into it as possible.
Sure, but it wouldn't even be planned ahead. It would be like whoever shows up on set that day to visit their friend, be like, "Hey, do you want to be this guy?" And they're like, "Yeah, sure." Just go on in.
No, I was definitely picturing it that Little Richard's gang was going to be half filled with the Wu-Tang Clan.
So like, only 40 of the members. Would be
exactly. The House of the 36 Chambers, and if Little Richard actually says the House of the 36 Chambers as his gang name, I'd be very happy.
That
with
would be
version.
Fucking amazing. I'm getting more juice thinking about it now. So, no, but continue on with your anime version.
But yeah, so yeah, it'd be Takashi Okazaki, which is more like to give you an idea of the art style because he doesn't really like direct. But he's more of the art direction, art concept kind of guy. But that's the kind of look that I want for it. So
okay. For my my look, I wanted to go the direction that Hollywood sometimes goes, where they take like a cult classic or a underappreciated gem and they remake it and they polish it to the point where it loses all the things that made it special in the first place and just try to overdo it into this big, elaborate production that's too clean. And to do that, I used the director, Steve Antine. If you are unfamiliar with the director, he hasn't done much besides Pussycat Dolls videos and the movie Burlesque that he directed as well. But you may know him as being involved in a beloved classic film. He was actually the douchey boyfriend Troy in Goonies.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is... Wow.
That is such a weird thing to now have in my brain. That
like I'm not sure what to do with that information now.
Troy from the Goonies directed Burlesque, starring Cher and Christina Aguilera.
Yeah.
So
like I know I'm unapologetic trash and I absolutely love Burlesque. But but it is a bonkers movie.
I have not seen it. I've been told that
it's-
it is that the musical numbers are great, like it's well produced and looks great, but the plot is garbage.
Oh yeah,
Total
pure
garbage.
trash.
Yeah. So who do you have for your casting for your?
All right, so since this one is more of a straight remake, the roles are going to be exactly what they're supposed to be instead of like transposing into a different story. So we've got our buddy Holly in this one. I want him to be voiced by Steve Bloom, which is pretty much every anime protagonist you have ever known. He was in Cowboy Bebop. He was in Rebels. He did Naruto. Like the list of this guy's credits is longer than like anybody's I've ever seen. Like he's in everything. The kid, being like you gotta have to have somebody who's more of a childlike voice actor. I went with Thom Addox Hernandez, who was the voice of Lexington in Gargoyles. He does Young Justice and the Spectacular Spider-Man now. Very prolific actor. Also really good at doing like childlike sort of affect.
Sure.
So that'd be important. I don't know if in this version the kid's gonna talk more than just like scream randomly, but like fine.
Right.
So we've got Death, who is also Slash. So I wanted somebody who can do a really nice timbre of voice, somebody who can like get like sort of an echo going even without modulation. I went with Phil Lamar, who everyone knows from Mad TV, Samurai Jack. He's Futurama. Like he's in. Oh yeah, he was also in Pulp Fiction. He's the guy who gets. Yeah,
he's done a ton of voice work.
Yeah, no, like he is all over the place for voice work. Like he every superhero TV show you like, Phil Lamar's on it.
Yep.
Like he's just one of those guys. The psycho dad, the cannibal like family. I didn't really cast the whole family, but I definitely wanted to get like a really good voice for the dad because he's the one who does the most talking. I went with Hank Azaria.
Okay.
Because Simpsons, Grosse Point Blank, he was in Mystery Men. Like he's another one of those, like he's voice acts for everything. I did specifically cast for the Red Elvises to be in this version of it. I wanted it to be the Mighty Mighty Boss Tones.
Okay.
Mostly because at one point or another they do get murdered.
And because I think everyone in Boston has been in that band at one point. There's more members of the Bosstones than there are the Wu-Tang Clan. Which actually now I just need to see the Bosstones fight the Wu-Tang Clan.
Okay, that's it. That's what it is. David Bowie's now leading the gang that is the Mighty Mighty Bosstones.
Which is a weird choice for him, honestly.
It is, but he's done weirder. He like everything he did.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, like and I think the one point that we both kind of omitted in our first version is you got to have the radio personality of that's mocking the wolf from the actual 1950s radio DJ as the werewolf, and I want him to be voiced by Mark Hamill.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah, because he can definitely do crazy DJ radio voice.
Definitely, and has done his fair share of voice acting. I mean, everybody knows him as the Joker, but that's not where the end of his voice acting has come to.
He's one of the original versions of the Wolverine that you've ever heard. So you know what? Good for him.
So that's that your casting for?
That's my major casting.
That's
I didn't
fantastic.
really get too deep into on it because again, remix.
Exactly, and that's kind of where I went to. Is that I had the same thought process for both versions of mine as far as the remix and the real, as far as incorporating a lot of musicians into this, and especially it being a Steve Antin joint, as it were. I wanted it to be just like pop divas and singers all throughout this, and it just being almost an opportunity for them to feature like part of a song in this movie and not about acting talent whatsoever. And fuck the plot. I mean, not that there was much of one in the first place, but we're playing in the space and just getting really stupid with it. So for Buddy, we went with Justin Timberlake for Buddy as the main role. So lots of singing and dancing going on there. For the kid, we aged up the kid just a little bit, mainly because I don't know a lot of pop singers that are like 11. So it was a little bit more difficult. But I thought it would be interesting to put Billie Eilish in there as the kid, or more like the understudy of Buddy. More like it's the Padawan, as it were. Then for the Red Elvises, the band that plays in the background throughout the entirety of the movie, which immediately will make you get up and walk out of the theater the minute you hear this band playing. We've got Maroon 5, just littered.
You're just a sadist.
I'm a sadist in this. Now, Death might bring you back, though.
Okay.
As far as a pop diva sensation to play Death, I could think of no one better than a person that lap dances Satan, Lil Nas X, as Death in there.
Okay, that's helping, but still, that's a lot of Maroon 5 I have to sit through.
The Windmill People, it's going to be more like an underground, like rave concert happening down there, and the people down there that are doing it is Daft Punk.
God damn it!
Yeah, Daft Punk holding an underground rave.
Actually, I thought you were going to be worse. So I'll take that.
Who did you think that I'm going to switch my answer to?
I thought you were going to do something awful, like some kind of dubstep or freaking
like
Deadmau5 or
Skrillex is down there just doing his thing. No. We went with Daft Punk.
Okay.
Then as far as the army bands, I wanted to do the like grassroots Americana bands, quote unquote. So I've got the Mumford and Sons and the Averitt Brothers as the army that is attacking the pop musicians.
Ew.
Yeah.
Nobody likes Mumford and Sons.
I don't know. I think it would be kind of funny to hear the Maroon 5 music clear out, and then you just hear Hopeless Wanderer play as Justin Timberlake is walking down a dirt road.
Yeah, that works.
And also them just like dragging a giant stand-up bass over a sand dune to like fight.
Yes,
would be
absolutely
pretty impressive. And just to make it fun, the Hopeless Wanderer music video has like a bunch of SNL people in it. And Jason Bateman's in it, and they're playing Mumford and Sons. So don't even get Mumford and Sons, just get them playing Mumford and Sons in this version.
See, if it's a post-apocalyptic thing and we're gonna do like as much as we can, they definitely need to have their entire band platform being hauled around by a bunch of gimps in like fucking leather face masks and body harnesses.
Just the members of Slipknot dragging
there you go
around.
There it is.
Like Slipknot is the Channing Tatum and This Is the End of this movie, where they're just like gimped out and dragging around Mumford and Sons. That's their personal hell. It is. Yes, I like this a lot. And then finally, the last one is the barbarians at the beginning that kill the kids' mom and orphans them. And we went with Imagine Dragons as the barbarians. So,
all right, yeah, that's fine.
And what's funny is this is gonna be so much worse than the original, and will make so much more money.
Right, exactly.
So
because star power, right?
Yeah, star power. That's what's important. So that is
I knew it was going to be weird as soon as I suggested this.
Total garbage fire. So I am just proud of this episode, if only to let people know that the person that directed the movie Burlesque was in Goonies. That's that was important information for everyone to have. Really is. So now we've got mashups, and the one right out the gate that I thought of, especially with the Liam Lynch version, is that if you incorporated the Pick of Destiny in the post-apocalypse, you could even have it as a sequel to Six String Samurai and Tenacious D in the Pick of Destiny, where the apocalypse happens after Pick of Destiny, and the king of Vegas has the pick, and the pick is like the magical thing that gives you the throne.
See, I'm just picturing it now as like as a trilogy. There's the original Six String Samurai, my sequel that's Yojimbo, and then your version, which takes place after the death of Prince. See, it works.
It totally works. We could do this. We could do the Six String trilogy.
Yeah. But as far as like mashing it up, I think like it's just so weird to mash this up with anything else because it's already a mashup to begin with.
Right.
Like this was a mashup pitch. The only things I can think of is like just inserting more of what's already there. Like it's post-apocalypse. Let's like Mad Max it with it. Like turn it into a chase movie with car fights.
Right.
Whatever. Or, like you've got mutants, screw it. Like it's, now the hills have eyes and shit.
Yeah, I will admit that for a rockabilly-centric movie, there are decidedly zero, like, spruced-up classic cars in this, which is
Like,
a big
you
surprise.
had the one he stole from Clint Eastwood, and that was it.
And that was, like, beat up. That wasn't even, redone
Just
or...
roasted.
Yeah.
I would definitely like to see that, like, classic cars, like, all polished up, but, like, redecked out to survive the end of the world. And, like, these torn up, like, rock stars, like, wielding samurai swords on the hoods and, like, trying to slash at each other.
Yes, I love that.
It's like that car chase scene from The Matrix, but, like, so much weirder.
Just a bunch of pinstriped samurai sword handles everywhere, you know?
Right? See, that would be fun. That would absolutely be fun.
Yeah.
More car combat in our rockabilly movies. God damn it.
I think that's an important thing for America. And
that's the line. That's the hill I'm going to die on.
Yeah. Yeah, mashups. Yeah. For something like this, it is really difficult to figure out how to incorporate this. I thought another thing you could incorporate with this is Stephen King's The Stand, where you make that the disease that kills everybody. And there's basically two camps, the like Red Army camp, but that's more like the pop singers and stuff in one camp. And then you got Vegas as the rock and rollers, but you do it the opposite of The Stand. And it's like, rock and roll is the devil's music and you're rooting for them.
Oh man. Let's just throw it into like the apocalypse happened from Pacific Rim and we've got giant movie monsters just roaming the landscape.
Yes.
Turn it into a Monster Hunter movie, but with like rockabilly.
They're like shooting arrows off of their guitar strings. At the monsters. I'm super fucking on board. Yeah, that would be amazing.
I mean, Fallout the movie the video game kind of already did that, like mutant cockroaches that you hunt down, and all of the stuff is like as if the 1950s is when the world ended. So,
yeah, true.
Like
so
it's
why
not too weird.
Yeah,
right.
Although now I'm also thinking about Pacific Rim and just the idea of like giant kaiju versions of rock and roll musicians.
Oh God!
They already did like the Robert Smith, Barbra Streisand thing in South Park, but if it's like Robert Smith and then you got like an Elvis Presley, and then randomly you've got like
Kiss
up there, or somebody that's just like happy to be there, like you've got
Alanis Morissette.
Yeah, you've got some like one hit wonder. You've got Harvey Danger is just like cool, like. What's up, guys? I'm paranoid. Harvey Danger, settle down. We don't need you to sing the song right now.
Yeah, this one's a tough one.
Yeah, I think we just need to kind of lay off as we've done as the best we could with the mashups for this one. Yeah. This is definitely a tough one. So all that's left for this episode is some people's favorite parts, some people's least favorite parts. We're talking about the trailers. So so let's dig in and do the thing. Let me cue up the music.
Strap in, kids. We're going back to the wastelands of Las Vegas to visit with the ruling council of rockers. The death of Buddy Holly has come and gone, and now it's time to select a new god of rock. The RZA brings you the Six-String Samurai, starring Andre 3000, Tracy Morgan, Cillian Murphy, and Leon. Rock will never die.
Very nice indeed. Yeah. You just like power fucked that trailer.
Fuck yeah.
Rock and roll.
That's how you do it.
All right, yeah, I guess I do have to do like the rock and roll voice. All right. So
the werewolf.
All right, so this is going to be garbage. Here we go with this one. All right. Yeah, please subscribe before you listen to this part of the episode. So it's too late to take it back. Here we go. I'm going to be doing my Liam Lynch version.
A new vision from the 1998 cult classic Six-String Samurai through the lens of Fistfull and Ollie's Liam Lynch is a new generation of rock and roll. Join Jack White as Buddy as he travels the wasteland on his way to Las Vegas to claim the throne left by Prince after his passing. And in the way is Tenacious D singing his story and Kirk Hammett's death. trying to take him down and take the throne for metal. Along the way, he runs into the Flaming Lips, BTS, One Direction, the Jonas Brothers, and the Foo Fighters on his epic quest to keep rock and roll alive. And along the way, with him is a small child to carry on the rock for the next generation is Foo Fighters' favorite drummer, Nandi Michelle. This summer, they're not leaving Las Vegas, they're going to it. Six String Samurai.
Come on. Okay.
That was the mashup we should have done. Leaving Las Vegas. Or Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
Six String Samurai.
Yes.
Because obviously drugs were involved.
100%. And also imagine if that's the one car scene in the movie is just the Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas road trip. And he's like, okay, I'm out. Like this is backcountry, and it's just
Thompson needs to show up in the.
It's like you can't get out here. It's backcountry, and you just see Ozzy Osbourne just biting the heads off of bats on the side of the road. Yeah,
that's the line. Yeah. That's what we should have done.
100%. Yeah. So next time for the sequel the sequel of Six String Samurai is.
Yep.
All right, so we have done what we could to make a weirder movie weirder.
Yeah, that was the mission, right?
Yeah, that was the mission. I think we've done as best as we possibly could on this episode. So,
yep.
I want to thank Jack for coming on and
it was a pleasure.
Enduring this rigorous test of will to get through an hour of this. And I also want to thank the listeners for doing the same. If you want to continue to enjoy this show, make sure to click subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. You can click on the link available at GUIPodcast.com. It will take you to a list of all the major podcatchers, and you can select your favorite one. Make sure to rate and review where you can, Apple Podcasts or Podchaser, and let the world know what you think of the show. And follow us on social media. That information is also at GUIPodcast.com. Tell us what you want to hear in the future for future episodes. Let us know what mashups you'd want to use for episodes or other ideas you have for remakes on stuff we've done before. We love feedback. We love hearing from you on what you like and don't like. And we'll find you next week for a short list episode. That's an original content idea that I've come up with on my own. That's every other week we do that one. So enjoy, and we'll find you next time for another episode. I'm Mike the Hobbit, and you just got pitch smacked.
GUIPodcast.com.
Aesthetic or die, man.
My name is Amy Bogard.
And I'm Mike the Hobbit.
And we are the hosts of Deeply Upsetting, where we use our expertise to answer your most upsetting hypothetical quandaries, such as, what non-winged animal deserves wings?
And what body part deserves a secret mouth?
Which cryptid is the worst roommate?
These questions and more that plague you will be answered on Deeply Upsetting, available anywhere you get your podcasts and at GUIPodcast.com.
Coming straight from the mouths of madness, I'm Lowdown.
I'm FU Hunter.
Do you love horror?
We fucking do.
So this is a podcast dedicated to all things in cinematic horror. We're talking movies, television, composers, special effects artists. We're gonna fucking cover it.
So if you love horror,
embrace the madness.
Hey guys, Scotty Big Daddy Preston here. That's right, the Geek Father, asking you to join me here every other week with friends and family of the GUI Network as we go through all the trials and tribulations of being a geeky parent. So remember, join us or cry.